Welcome back to Project 94 for another Diecast review here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at Kevin Harvick and his 2022 FireKeepers Casino 400 number 4 Busch Light Apple hashtag Bushel of Busch number 4 Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing. This is a very cool 1/64 scale diecast raced version. Of course, this is one of two Kevin Harvick raced wins from the 2022 season, the debut of the next generation car. And this one right here, not only is the paint scheme special, but it is the raced version from Michigan, which is really cool. The fact that it's an exclusive paint scheme and it's kind of a clean race version. I don't see a lot of damage so far. But as you guys can see, the Michigan win, even though it does look like a pretty clean die-cast, which is good news for you stop-motion makers that want this car for your series, because you like this paint scheme or whatever. Very good die-cast to get. So without further ado, let's get this one out of the box. And I know there's been a lot of Kevin Harvick, but it's just, I promise you, it's an accidental coincidence. But here it is, out of the box. Of course, this is going to be one that has the base attached to it, but here it is, out of the box, 2022 Michigan win. Very cool looking diecast. When I first saw this paint scheme, I really liked it a lot, honestly. Just the Apple printings on there, and of course just the overall detail that we're used to seeing with the Stewart Haas Racing Busch paint schemes, which Busch is going to be going over to Trackhouse Racing next year, so I guess it's going to be kind of an end of the era, or an end of an era for the Busch number 4 Mustangs with Kevin Harvick. It was a great run, of course, but everybody knows it. All good things must come to an end, I guess. As much as I think that's a stupid slogan, it is kind of true in a lot of ways. But here's the front of this diecast. You got number 4, you got Stewart Haas Racing. You have the grill in front of this car with a bit of a camera on it, which is really cool. Got some tire buildup on it. We'll go over all the race version details later, but that's just pretty much an overview of what the front looks like. Cool to have the more detailed grill. That's nice detail. You got Ford. You have Busch Light Apple with the 2 hood vents on there, which are the 2022 hood vents, so they don't look as bad. But of course, Busch Light Apple with the more red-looking Busch logo. You got Kevin Harvick, Ford. You got Sunoco, Goodyear. Of course, the yellow Goodyear on the wheels with the gray rims and the white Goodyear on the wheel well right there. You have NASCAR Cup Series number 4. You got Kevin Harvick with the American flag. You have Ford, Mobil 1, Haas, Hunt Brothers, and Rush Truck Centers. Hashtag Bushel of Busch on the side, big and slanted. You have Mobil 1. You have Gear Wrench, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Pristine Auction, and Subway. On the back of this thing, you have a pretty dirty spoiler. You still got the pop rivets, but the spoiler is fairly dirty, and it should be the small spoiler, but they don't do the mold for that on the diecast. You have Busch Light, Mobil 1, the 2022 Ford license plate, the Michigan Ford license plate with the 2022 registration sticker. Got number 4 right there. You have Busch Light Apple. Oh, okay, so there actually is going to be some victory lane detail. You got some crushed up beer cans right there. That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that until now. I completely forgot this thing had Busch cans on the deck lid. Crushed up cans from the race. That's pretty cool that they actually got that detail on there. I know it's like 2D. It's not, a 3D Busch can or anything, but look at that. Crushed up beer cans. So they did a lot of drinking in that celebration. Of course, you got Busch Light Apple. The A in Apple is cut off by that beer can. So I guess if you wanted to use this in the stop motion, you're going to have to race it with the beer cans and the deck lid. Of course, you got Mobil 1. You got number 4 on the top with Kevin Harvick's name on the back windshield. No confetti on this thing. It's pretty much just a straight-up die-cast. So without further ado, let's get into the paint scheme first, because this is actually an exclusive paint scheme. You can't get this paint scheme any other way. There was never a fully clean version of it, but here we go. So for the base coat of this paint scheme, you have that like bright red-orange color, but it's definitely more on the red side compared to other red-oranges we've seen on other die-casts, like some of the older McDonald's die-casts. Pretty much a similar red, like compared to not last year, the 2020 and 2021 Busch Apple. It's similar sort of red to that, but it's going to return on this diecast right here, this paint scheme for this Michigan race. And this thing only ran once. I don't recall this running any other race than just Michigan. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. So with the paint scheme itself, we're looking at the numbers first. You have a dark blue outline, a slight silver outline, and a white number fill-in. You're going to see some tire buildup on the white portions of this car because all race versions are going to be like that with white finishes on any decals. Looks to be the same number 4, except now you have an extra silver outline to it, but it looks like the same number 4 on the top, just with that extra silver highlighting. Still got the blue, the dark blue outline, the silver outline, and the white number fill-in. That number 4 is going to be like this in the front, it looks like, which is very small to notice it. And on the back, you're going to have that style 4 as well. So now for the paint scheme. On the front of it, it starts out plain red. And then you're going to look at the hood of this thing. You got a bucket of apples. And the apples are going to be some that are chewed up. Then you got some beer cans. And, of course, just normal apples on there coming out of the wood bucket right there behind the Busch Light Apple logo. And across the entire back portion of this car up until the deck lid and the edges of the back right there with the biofuel logo, it's going to be covered up in this really cool detailing. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this because there you go. Here it is. The camera can focus, please. There it is. You can see all the different chewed up apples, the normal apples, the leaves of the apple, and of course the beer cans. It's pretty much sprinkled all across the side, and they're all pretty close to each other. They aren't spaced out very much, but it's going to be all through the side, so it kind of has a slant to it. You can see like where it has the Cup Series logo. That's not covered up in an apple. It's just this front portion is going to be red by the wheel wells in the front, but everything in the back is covered up. And then of course you have that subtle Stewart Haas striping on the side with the white outline and the dark blue Mobil 1, or behind the Mobil 1, it's a dark blue color, which really goes with the paint scheme. I've always liked red, white, and blue as a color combination, but when you have red as the base color, blue as a secondary color, and white as like an outline color, it does look pretty cool. But it's the same type of across the side through the quarter panel, the bumper, and the rear wheel well striping. That's going to be the same as it usually is, but the coloring of it looks good on this paint scheme. So that Stewart Haas stripe is going to carry, like I said, from the rear portion of the side behind or in front of the wheel well. It's going to go through it and then onto the quarter panel and then onto the back, which the white stripe gets cut off. You can only see it at the very corner of the taillights because the entire black taillight bar of the Ford Mustang covers up the white stripe. On the top, you're going to have that pattern as well. All the pillars of the roof are covered in the apples and beer cans, as you guys could see. And then that's pretty much it. And then up to the deck lid, and that's about it for the apples. So really cool paint scheme as it is. It looked nice even as a clean die cast. And now for the race version detailing. Not really much to speak of with damage. I'm looking around this thing, and it looks like this thing stayed fairly clean. Kevin Harvick ran a fairly clean race. No, like, major scratch marks or anything that I'm seeing on either side. So, in that regard, you could still use it for the stop motions. But here's the front of this thing with the more detailed grille. I'm going to take advantage of the zoom-in technology. There we go. So, here's the front of this die cast. It's going to be covered up in some speedy dry, some tire buildup. Very subtle with the tire buildup, but it's there. Okay, you do have a bit of a little mark right there from the race. So that's got some damage right there. So that's a bit of race version detailing right there, as I just noticed. Of course, you got some more of the tire buildup, the speedy dry. Very subtle in the front, but it is on there. A bit more than the tire buildup, honestly. And of course, you got the white corners of the splitter, so the team can know how to adjust the splitter. Then you're going to have the carbon texture to the splitter as well, which is also covered up in some tire buildup and speedy dry. Look at it from underneath. It's just painted black under the splitter. But yeah, pretty detailed splitter. It's not just a plain black splitter. You do have the carbon looking details of it with the white striping on the corners. That makes it look realistic, which is how it was in the race. But very cool looking grill pattern. It almost looks like a beehive grill pattern right there, with the honeycomb looking stuff. And then of course you have the front camera, bumper camera, it looks to be right there, because they have really small little cameras, just like on the rear. On the hood, you're going to have some of the tire buildup. And then you, of course, got a piece of tape right there. I'm not sure if that's a decal error or if that's actually what was on the actual car. Could be a worm from one of the apples, for all I know. Of course, they don't detail the windows on 164s. This side had that little mark on the front wheel well. And, of course, a few more marks. So, oh, actually, there were marks on this thing. And they're just very subtle. I think the biggest scratch is like that scratch right there that I'm pointing to. On the right front, got some scraping, got some like rubber buildup, I guess, but it's like a stripe, it's like a line. It's not really like, you know, dusting. It's actually a big mark. And then on the side skirts, they're going to be detailed. They have the rocker indicator right there, so they know where to lift them up on pit road. Then, of course, you're going to have the carbon-looking side body, or the side of the underbody. It's going to be covered up in tire buildup and lots of speedy dry and like burn marks on the exhaust right there. Then, of course, you're going to have on the 4, it's a bit scratched up, but that's probably from the tire buildup. And because the paint scheme is kind of dark with the apple pattern, you're going to miss out some of the tire buildup on the top of that, and the dark blue. But it looks to me that that's still pretty clean on this side, other than just some tire buildup just sprinkled throughout the side. The letters are going to have some of it, obviously. See if I can zoom in a little bit more on this, or if that's as good as I'm able to get it. Looks like that's going to be as good as I'm able to get it. But yeah, there's this side, fairly clean, except the right front is filled up with some race version wear and tear right there. He did a burnout, so I'm checking to see if there's anything like rubber around here, but I don't see any. It looks pretty clean there. Onto the back of this thing, you're going to have, like I said, the dusted up looking spoiler. As you can see, the spoiler's going to have some of that detailing. It was the small spoiler, so it does look funny on the big splitter, or spoiler. The back is fairly clean. I don't see much going on back here as far as damage or race wear or anything like that. Deck lid had those crushed up beer cans with the deck lid tape. Was there a rear view? Oh, there's the rear view camera. Very subtle, but it's there. You got a camera in the front and a camera in the back. And then I'm assuming there was another camera on the top, but I don't see one there. I don't see a roof panner up there. Then on this side of the car, the left side, pretty much like the other side, you got that side skirt that's used up from the race, worn out with speedy dry and tire buildup. Obviously, it looks more detailed than just the standard diecast. Of course, you got that pit indicator on both sides and just a more realistic looking side of the underbody right there compared to the other diecasts. Just a standard finish, but got some more tire buildup, but it's very, very subtle. You can only see it on the white numbers and the lettering of the bushel of Busch. But yeah, not much going on here. I'm going to give it another close look just to make sure. Yeah, it looks pretty clean, looks pretty clean, looks pretty clean. Fairly clean. And on the top of this thing, of course, the number 4 is going to have some of that tire buildup. Get a piece of hair clear-coated in there. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be there, but it's there. Here it is, the top, the number 4. Of course, whenever you have white as the backdrop, that's really the only time you're going to see the tire buildup, but it's on there. It's going to be on the roof because the tire, when you're driving, all that like buildup is going to literally, you're going forward, so it's going to mostly be on the front and onto the roof, just where the airflow works. It just blows all the debris onto the car in the front direction. Of course, you get the black spoiler, the carbon detailed splitter, which is black underneath, and then, of course, the black roof rail. So here's a 360 view of this car. So yeah, Kevin Harvick went back to victory lane with this car and then won a week later at Richmond, which is really, really cool to know that. Pretty historic die-cast set. So technically, I have all of Harvick's wins from 2022, which is interesting. He only won 2 wins, so it wasn't that hard for me to get all of them. Whereas the Chase Elliott, I had to wait quite a while to get all 5 race versions. There's the front of the car, there was the hood, the right side of this thing, which we established this car is pretty clean. Here's the right side of this thing. Here's the back. Here's the deck lid. Here's the roof. Here's the left side. And the underbody of this thing, which is covered up by the plastic base, but I'm pretty sure we all know how to remove those by now. So yeah, guys, what do you think of this Kevin Harvick Bushel of Busch Michigan win? I think it's a pretty cool diecast. The paint scheme is cool. So if you're willing to get a race version diecast, but you also want this particular paint scheme. This is the only way to get this paint scheme. It was Harvick's first win. He broke his winless streak of like 60 races. And of course, you know, Kevin Harvick's going to be retiring this year, so there's a lot of reasons why you would want to get this diecast. It is very special in that regard. It's one of his 2 wins. So yeah, guys, definitely worth getting this car. I mean, I love the paint scheme on it, so that's mainly the reason why I got this. I liked the paint scheme, but I also watched the race, so some sentimental value to actually watch the race. I've been watching all the races, so technically all race versions are special now to me, but you know, this diecast, bottom line, is very good. It's a good diecast. I'm glad they made it. And you can get both of his wins, the Richmond and this one. I reviewed the Richmond wins. I could put that in the description if you guys want me to, because you guys can see both of these diecasts for Kevin Harvick, his race wins. So, without further ado, that has been the review of Kevin Harvick's Busch Light Apple Michigan race win. Very cool diecast. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. And that's going to be it for this diecast review. And always remember to make sure you know what you're doing when you're putting decals on your diecast. And we will see you in the next diecast review.